Hi there, welcome to Transformer Trailer Sales. Today I'll be walking you through your 2026 Wildwood 273Qbxl. If you notice up top, you are pre-mounted and pre-wired for an observation camera as well as the lipper collapsible stair system. If you'd like to get set up with either of those, great. Both are going to be great additions for your camper. Just by contacting the parts department, they'd be more than happy to put together a quote for you. So if you're using this unit and you're at a site with service, you got your city water connection right here. You can just thread a garden hose in there, plug it in. Turn it on, it's going to pressurize all those lines without needing to run your water pump. And then of course, you got your black tank flush located right here. So the way that works is, it's good to use it every couple of uses, as well as if you're just noticing false monitor panel readings or just an odor around the unit. But of course, before using it, just noticing that there is a caution sticker letting you know that you do have to have the sewer tank, the sewer hose connected, and your black tank valve open. And the reason for that being is if you're pushing pressure inside of that tank and that pressure's got nowhere to go, it could expand that tank to the point of cracking. Other than that, you got your spare tire, and then you do get access to both sides, but you're able to pull on the driver's side of the bumper cap. That cap comes right out of place. That's typically where you're going to want to store your sewer hose after your first use. We do have a brand new one located inside the front compartment, which is why there's not one in here yet. And then that cap is just pressed back into place. Now in this corner, as well as all four corners of the unit, you do got your stabilizer jacks. Hook up your 3/4 inch drive tool to your 3/4 inch drive nut, run your foot down to the ground. Once the foot does contact the ground, just give you another 1/8 quarter turn to snug it up. It's going to take any bounce or sway you see we have in the unit right now away. In addition to that, they are stabilizing jacks, not leveling jacks. Please don't try and use them as so, otherwise you do run the risk of bending them. And then of course the same does go for if you're running them up or down with an impact. I know with today's day and age, cordless tools are just that big of a hot commodity, but just keep in mind how much torque you put on there. Come a little bit further ahead, you get your standard 30 amp twist lock connection. You're just taking note of that notch there. It lines up with this notch on this side. Pushing that firmly into place, 8th turn to lock that in. Then you got that threaded collar to really lock it down. If you follow that cord back, you do have your standard 30 amp plug in. Now a lot of campsites should have this and you can plug right on in, but let's say you have the unit at home or your campsite only has a standard 15 amp household outlet. We do include that park adapter. Just keep in mind whenever you are using it, you're going down in power, so you won't be able to run your air conditioner. It really is just to run your fridge and your lights. Coming up ahead, you get your sewer dump. Take that cap, twisting it off, pull it out of place. You got ears on either side. They lock up and twist and lock into place. Your sewer hose is going to have the same ears. Then you got your black tank and your gray tank. You always want to empty your black tank first. This will be your dirtiest water filled from your toilets. And then you can come behind that with your gray tank, which is typically a little cleaner water filled from your sinks and your showers. Coming up further up ahead, inside this first storage compartment, just storage, but just keep in mind whenever you are piling stuff in here, be mindful of that front ram, versatile ram hydraulic up there. You're not going to be wanting to pile too much stuff too closely to it. Around the front of the unit, you got your battery disconnect on the front frame here. With it in the off position or with the key removed like it is now, the batteries are disconnected from the unit. But if you insert that key, twist and lock it to the on position, the batteries are connected to the unit. The battery is located inside this box here. Underneath this cover, you get your 2 standard propane tanks. Pretty much most of the time you get what you need done just by taking off this cover. Get access to the top of the tanks, but just for the purpose of the video, just in case when one goes empty, you just slide it right out of place. You got 2 tanks on the front of your regulator. This selector valve, with it pointed this way, you're obviously drawing off this tank counterclockwise like any standard barbecue tank to open up the flow of propane to the unit. If this one were to go empty, you could just close this off, remove it, flip it over to the other side, and you can start drawing off that tank. Now coming around the passenger side of the unit, you get your second side of this end of the storage compartment. Weight distribution, which this customer opted to go with. And then right up at the front, you get your standard starter kit. Inside here, you got a 10-foot sewer hose, 15-foot water hose, some other miscellaneous goodies, as well as that 15 amp park adapter. In here, it's going to be hard to see, but on one side of the, sorry, not on this one. The drench radar, which we'll go over in a minute. Suburban hot water heater service port. This is a tankless system, so it's going to work a little bit differently than your standard traditional one. switch here, turning that on, supplies power to the thermostat inside. Now, unlike traditional water heaters, this water heater doesn't have any bypass valves behind it. If you're doing the winterization yourself, you do run an antifreeze to the system. Once you're done your winterization process completely, just remember to crack this pressure relief valve and leave it cracked open for the duration of winter, so that way once that antifreeze does start expanding during those cold Manitoba months, it has a place to go and doesn't crack your coil. Fresh water inlet, in case you're out boondocking, your site just doesn't have water. That's how you siphon your water in. The drain for that is just going to be right below the floor here. Pulling on this guy, that's going to be what drains all the water out of the tank. Furnace exhaust, whenever your furnace is running, that'll be blowing out hot air, so just be mindful of that. Right up top here, you get your little range hood vent. Always unclipping it whenever you get to your campsite. That way you can evacuate those fumes as you're creating them. But let's say you're traveling now, you do want to remember to try and snap it back into place. Sometimes you kind of got to play with it a little to get it to line up. Snapping that back into place allows it to close it off for whenever you're traveling, you're not getting excess dust in. Little TV mount in case you want to mount the TV outside. Get the corresponding plugins here, as well as the cable satellite outlet. You'll notice this low point drains. This is going to be how you drain most of the water out of the lines if you don't want it going stale or stagnant because you're leaving the unit for a while, or whenever you're done your winterization process. Again, if you're doing that yourself, cracking those guys open allows all the fluid that's inside the lines to drain out. Couple more plugins for inside this storage compartment. And if you open up this guy, this is where you're going to have your standard 110 mini fridge. It does only work whenever you're hooked up to shore power, and then you get your little griddle, pull up on the latch, pull it towards you. Propane quick connect line, pulling the dust caps off both ends, making sure you do put them back into place whenever you're not using it. You can then take this end, pull back like any standard airline, insert onto that brass fitting. I like to assist the regulator a little bit as I'm inserting it into place. That way you're not putting any excess stress on anything. And then you can run this line right back to the other end of the quick connect that is plumbed straight into those front tanks, so you don't have to carry an extra tank with you. Again, pull back on the airline, push, insert into place, opening up the flow of propane. You can now be ready to fire up your griddle. Now, as an added safety feature, you can't operate that coupler whenever the flow of propane is open, so you do have to close it to allow it to turn off. Always making sure you do allow this time to cool down before you ram it back into that compartment. It's just the total opposite to get it back into place, and we'll go over that for you in the video, just so we can keep things short and sweet. To get inside, you're taking your assist handle, pushing it up, pulling it 90 degrees. You do lock it into place. That'll allow you to open up your door. You do have to open your door all the way to get your stairs down. Pulling this blue tab towards you. You have adjustable feet, so you can have nice and level stairs at your campsite. Just pushing on the silver tabs will allow them to retreat into those tracks. Whenever these are down, you can try and want to get this to sit as flush to that silver base plate as possible, just so the door can open in and out freely. Now, before we go inside and go over awning operation, you're going to notice with this door all the way open, it does cover that awning arm, so if you were to try to run it right now, it would cause damage. So you always have to remember to make sure you got that door closed 90 degrees before you try and run this awning in or out. That way you don't damage anything, whether that be the awning or the door. Now, taking a step on inside, first thing you notice off on the left is that fire extinguisher. It's pretty much just like home. Pull the pin and shoot. Forest River control panel here. It's motion sensitive. As soon as you run your hand in front of it, it lights itself up. It's pretty sweet. You get all your main lights on a single switch to turn on all the main living space lights. Accent lighting to turn on some accent lighting throughout the inside. Awning LED light switch. And then you have an exterior light switch, which turns on some more accent lighting outside to spice up your campsite a little bit. And then, of course, your water pump switch, which would draw out of your fresh tank. You got your tank levels up top. You can connect this to your phone through Bluetooth. Obviously, the controls for that are going to be all there, and you have to set it up through Bluetooth. Your main slide out button. Now, before you ever run your slide out in or out, it's always a good idea to do a quick visual check on the inside to make sure nothing's shifted during travel. It's going to run into contact between the slide out and the wall. That way you're not damaging anything. And of course, just on the outside, making sure you do have enough room to get that slide out all the way. Then it's as simple as holding and pushing that button out. Slide out's going to start making its way out. Just trying to be visual whenever you are operating it, making sure it's going out nice and even. So Motor's cut out. It's at its full extension. If you want to be extra safe, just run your hand between the slide out and the wall. You want to make sure you feel a good seal between the rubber and the wall. That way it's sealing out any moisture from getting inside. Awning switch is next. Of course, making sure your door is closed 90 degrees. Push and hold that extend button. The awning's going to start making its way out. Now, unfortunately, today we won't be able to get it to its full extension just because my bay's not wide enough. But typically, you'll know it's at its full extension when you see the little flap hang down or the back of the metal tube. Sometimes the flap can get stuck, so you might just have to retract it a couple feet and then put it back out again for it to come down. Well, that's all we're going to be able to go out today. But now you can take any arm, front or rear, pull down at the center. If it were to start raining, it's going to change the pitch of the awning head, allowing water to now run off. Now if you like that angle better because it's going to allow for more shade underneath, you can do the same thing with the front arms. And again, it's going to be more shady underneath, but just make sure that you do remember to push these back to their natural resting positions before you bring in the awning. That way you don't run the risk of bending anything. Whenever you have these awnings out, you're always going to want to keep an eye on the wind speeds. Once they start picking up, it's very important that you do run this awning back in. It acts as a wind sail. It doesn't take much to rip your fabric or bend your arms. Both are costly, and you're going to want to avoid. Putting it in as simple as holding the retract button. Awning's going to make its way all the way in, and once the arms contact the side of the trailer, the motor will automatically cut out. You got your JBL sound system. Now, this isn't equipped with any sort of AM, FM, or anything. It is strictly Bluetooth. So you push the power button, turns on. You connect your phone through Bluetooth. You got control of the speakers by pushing the speaker button, whether you want that to be the inside speakers or the outside speakers. A light button so you can dim this in case it was too bright for somebody. And then up top, you got your solar controller. Now, right now, we have it currently set up for your basic charging needs. If there's going to be sun outside hitting the panel, there's, of course, going to be a charge applied to your front battery. Now, there is a bunch of different settings you can go up and set up. I'm going to recommend going over the owner's manual for getting those set up. But like I said, it's currently set up for your basic charging needs. First things first, we'll probably go check out the bedroom since it's right here. Open up your door, light switches on the right. First tilt bed control, up is all the way up, down, push the button, the bed's gonna start making its way down. You're gonna have sleep app access, plugins, and all sorts of USB plugins on both sides of the bed. Storage all throughout. Now, whenever you're using any of the storage inside this unit, always making sure you are mindful of drains, water lines, and wiring. You're not gonna be wanting to affect any of that, just allowing things to run smoothly. Now, all the blinds in the unit do work the same way. They just kind of sit where you leave them. One quick pull will allow them to retract back up. Now, if you were to want to mount a TV inside here, it's going to be the best spot for the bedroom. TV backer, extra little support panel back there for you to screw in and mount. This is going to be the fire exit from the bedroom. You just have to pull the red tab. The screen's going to pop right out of place. Then you can take your handle, push it out, hop on out of the unit. If you pick up on the foot of the bed, you do get access to some little storage totes as well as the inside of the front storage compartment. Now into the main living space, you first got your entertainment center where they put your fake TV on the wall. It's already mounted, which is nice, so you would just have to transfer that mount. Down below, fireplace, storage all throughout, pretty neat. Fireplace works pretty simple. You get your power button on the far right. The button next to it changes your flame color. The button in the middle does all your rock light colors. And then, of course, you get your heat option. You got to push it twice to go into low, one more time to get into high. Then you got a timer that goes anywhere from 30 minutes to 9 hours. Power button again to turn it off. Inside your slide out, again, you're going to have some lights just on their own center push buttons. And then this is what we call a Versa Lounge. So it's currently set up a big eating space, a little couch for seating. The couch folds out into a bed. You're just having to remove the side cushion, grab on the foot, pull it, lift and pull towards you. The bed's going to fold down. And now, because this is a Versatilt, there's a bunch of different variations you can do with it. This cushion here is in its own stake pockets. There's stake pockets on this side and stake pockets on that side. So if you wanted to change the couch into a sectional because you're watching a movie, you just have to pick this cushion up, slide it into the corresponding stake pockets on each side here. Just being careful on the back set of stake pockets because there is leather cushions here and it's pretty easy to rip them if you aren't careful inserting that metal stake into the stake pocket. Or you could just take this right out of the way, have one massive seating space. Like I said, the variations, you can get creative with it, kind of find out which works best for you. Inside your kitchen space, again, tons of storage. They even got this little garbage disposal spot, which not a lot of them come included. Sink, stove, lifting up on here, that gives you access to your range hood and your microwave. Always recommend running your range hood whenever you're running your stove, because this unit's equipped with propane. You got your LP detector right here near the ground. If this guy ever starts going off, turn off the main supply of propane at the front of the unit. Don't panic. Just open up some windows and vents and get some fresh oxygen inside of here. Now, a couple notes about propane as well. Whenever you turn the bottles off at the front, or of course disconnect one of the bottles, whenever you turn the system off at the front or disconnect one of the bottles, it allows air into the system. Once the air makes its way in, it does have to be purged out. Quickest, easiest way to do that is going to be by firing up your stove. So I always tell people, when you first get to your campsite, just fire up your stove quickly. It just gets the propane moving through the system that easy, because you get to decide how long the gas valve runs for and how many sequences it lights for. If you go to fire up your water heater or your furnace before you went to go fire anything else up, those will only try lighting themselves a couple times, and if they don't sense a flame because there's no propane there, throw a fault code, which is going to throw a little wrench in your weekend. So come to your stove, push in on the knob, turn it over to the high option, hit the igniter. Of course, it fires right up today, first try, only because I had the system running earlier. Sometimes it can take a few minutes, just be patient with it. But I must go over, because this is gas, to please be safe whenever you're using it. So if you turn this gas valve on, always making sure you're hitting that sparker every few seconds. If you didn't do that and you had gas coming through and building up, there could be a minor combustion when it does receive a spark, and if your face was nearby, lose some eyebrows and eyelashes. Again, it's not something you want to avoid, so please just be safe whenever using so. You should be fine. To get the oven to light, again, it can be a little more temperamental just because the gas surface for the pilot is so small, but turning it over to the pilot option, pushing and holding the knob in, hitting your sparker. Again, you don't want no big buildup of gas, so just hitting it every couple seconds is just a good measure. And we're seeing right now, what I mean about that purging thing is sometimes you have to have that knob pushed in for quite a while before you get any propane out, but there, once that pilot's lit and is able to hold its own without you pushing in on the knob, it's ready to be fired up to its desired temperature, and it fires right on up. Right on the right, you do get your oven light as well as some illumination knobs. Now, to the right of that, you do get your fridge freezer combo. Controls for the freezer up top, controls for the fridge are down below. Pushing the snowflake gets you between your different options here. You're going to notice off grid, that's going to be the most energy efficient setting to have it on whenever you're running it off battery power. And then the last one is going to be the coldest setting as well. It's up top, you're going to notice it says fast. So for example, you're going out for a camping trip, you forgot to turn the fridge on the night before, but you remember the next morning you want it to get cold before you leave. The fifth setting is going to be the fastest setting to get it cold. So if you wanted to turn it on that for a couple hours, let it get cold, and then turn it down to your desired temperature to let it remain on that the rest of the time, you can do so. On the wall, you get your thermostat. Push the button once, it illuminates itself. Push it again, you can go between your different modes. We're going to start with cool. Whenever you go into the cool setting, you can either run that fan setting on either high or low with the auto involved. Whenever you have that auto rating there, that's going to be the setting I recommend you using, just because it creates an on-demand system. So if it's reading 68 degrees Fahrenheit right now, but we want it to set to 37. Once the thermostat senses the room's at 37, it's going to kill your air conditioner and not let it run consistently all day. If you were to turn that fan setting to either the high or low setting full time, without the low rating there, it's no longer an on-demand system. So the fan for that air conditioner is going to run consistently full time until you manually turn it off. So again, I'm going to recommend using that auto setting, and another reason I recommend that is because when you want to kill your air conditioner and fire up your furnace, the furnace is its own entity. It runs off propane, moves all its air through the floor coils you have throughout the unit, and there's only one fan speed. But if you didn't have that auto setting on for the fan speed when you're using the air conditioner, and you go to fire up the furnace, the fan for the air conditioner is going to continuously run. Now, whenever you fire up the furnace and then go to turn it off, it does run for an additional 3 minutes to allow itself to cool down. Really cool features Coleman throwing in this year is the cool plus heat option. It's very important to use the auto fan setting for that to work. So depending on what you have the room set to, will depend on whether it fires up the furnace or the air conditioner. Again, it's going to be very important you have things pre-purged if you want to use this setting. Now one more time you go over to dry, that's just a dehumidifying mode in case it's extra wet feeling inside of here. And then just cycle everything back to off to turn everything off. Now whenever you're using the air conditioner, you have a couple different options. You can leave these leaving it open, in which case it'll dump all its air into this main living space, which I recommend doing to get it cold first, cool off this main living space, and then once it's cool in the main living space, you can close these louvers, push the air throughout the unit. Now the reason I'm telling you to cool the main living space first is these guys here is the intake for the air conditioner. This is where it sucks its air in through. And so as you can imagine, there's filters up top of here. It's that easy to get to them. Pull them down, give them a spray with some compressed air, and then you can stick them back into place. That's also going to help keep the flow for the air conditioner flowing nice to all those back vents where it's furthest away from. Now, behind door number 1 is going to be the bathroom. The light switch is on the left, and then the one above my head's on its own center push button. So the one on the left is going to be to turn on the selfie light on the mirror. I call it the selfie light anyways. And then you got another one above your head. Now if you open this vent lid, it does open straight to the atmosphere, especially if you open it up all the way. If it were to start raining, it's going to get wet inside here. And of course, if you were to start driving with it open, you do run the risk of it damaging itself. Now, if you were to get a max air cover that goes over top of here, that our parts department would be more than happy to help you get a quote together for, it's going to stop it from getting wet inside of here in case it rained and you left it open. And of course, if you're traveling, you could leave it open. It's not going to damage the vent lid. Again, wanting to get set up with that, just contact the parts department. Main GFI plug on the wall, reset up top, test down below. 85% of the plugs are ran through GFI. If you ever have one that doesn't work, just make sure this isn't tripped. Sometimes it can trip for the weirdest reasons. On the back wall here, you get your thermostat for your water heater. Power button up and down. Power button, turn it on and off, Celsius and Fahrenheit with the press of a button. As an added safety feature, you're locked to 50 degrees Celsius right off the bat. That's just so kids can't scald their hands, because 50 degrees Celsius water is already pretty hot. If you push and hold it for 5 more seconds, it will allow you to go up to 5 more degrees, but just be warned, at 55 degrees, that's hand scalding temperature. So just be careful whenever you're using it that hot. Now, because you have a tankless system inside of here, you're probably asking yourself, well, where do I even want to leave that temperature? For this system to run the most efficient, you want to just turn the hot on and have this temperature set to exactly where you feel comfortable. The method behind that is so that you don't have to turn the cold on at all, because the water's flowing and as it's flowing through the water heater, it's heating. Again, it's most efficient to leave the cold off and set that temperature to exactly where you like it with just the hot line on. Other than that, it's a pretty standard bathroom. Not much I need to show you inside of there. Inside here, you got some closet space. Again, pretty nice. Some extra storage always comes in handy. Now, taking a step into the bunk room, the lights are on their own center push buttons. You're going to notice the bunk door, it's got a travel lock. It's very important to use this travel lock. Without the travel lock on there, it's going to allow this door to do whatever it wants. You can fly around and probably cause damage. Again, something you're going to want to avoid. So just make sure before you travel, lock that into place so that it can't go anywhere. Other than that, it's a bunk space for the kids. You got another fire exit. It's going to work the same way as the one in the front bedroom did. This one bed will come up, and you can latch it into place, and you have another couch down below. Now, in case the 2 top bunks and the 1 bunk to my left isn't enough, this does turn out from a couch into a bed. Again, just pulling on the foot of it folds itself down. In case your kids had some extra friends they want to stay, you do have the option to house them. Right here, you can put a TV if you'd like, coax, couple extra plugins, perfect for kids. Above the bunks, they also get their own USBs in case they had iPads, iPhones, or whatever else the kids have nowadays. And then right down below, you do get your little breaker panel. Whenever a breaker trips, it's going to sit in the middle, so just turn it off and then back on again to reset it. You have all your corresponding fuses on the right, and there will be a red indicator light in case one pops. Now, that is going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.